The King of Bhutan was part of a love story you would think is part of a fairy tale, but he was tested to his limits. King Wangchuck, otherwise known as the Dragon King, is an advocate for true love, and when he was faced with the possibility of a second marriage, the people who adored him found out if he is a man of principles or not. Would he wed his wife's sister? Did he go against his principles and beliefs? How is the king doing now? Welcome to Crown Tale, and let's get into today's video. Far away in the mountains of Tibet, Bhutan stands as a spectacle of beauty and pure preservation of Asian medieval history. The air of Buddhism and teachings of Dharma surrounds Bhutan and creates the perfect setting for a love story to be birthed. Jigme Khosar Namingyal Wangchuck, the Crown Prince of Bhutan, lived a life of aristocratic service while growing up, doing everything that was required of him as the heir to the throne of Bhutan. He is the first son of his father, King Singye, the fourth Dragon King, and his third wife, Queen Ashi. From a young age, he was taught to keep the customs of his people and accompanied his father on many tours and aristocratic visits across different locations. But his adherence to his culture would be tested in the near future. After meeting Jetson Pima, Jetson studied in India, while Jigme had gone around the world for his education. He began in Yangching for his primary school education, then to the US for his high school and college degree, and finally to Magdalene College, Oxford for his diplomatic studies program. Upon returning to Bhutan, it was his destiny to come back and marry Jetson Pima, the love of his life. It is known that the first time he met Jetson, the prince was only 17, while she was 7. At the time, he promised to marry her when she was older, and of course, the young Jetson agreed to this only if she didn't find someone better, and he didn't change his mind. 14 long years later, Jetson had not found anyone better than the Crown Prince of Bhutan to take as her husband. In fact, by the year 2006, King Singye, his father, abdicated the throne in favor of his heir and crowned Jigme King of all Bhutan. The people of Bhutan praised and welcomed the rise of a new Dragon King. Before his wedding to Jetson, the king showed signs of his alliance with positive changes in terms of tradition. He showed signs of affection with his bride-to-be, holding hands together as they walked along the streets. The truth is, a few years ago, this was a serious offense to the custom, as these displays of love and affection were prohibited when done in public. However, the king wasn't mindful of this, and his people seemed to support him. So much so that when he kissed his wife on the lips in front of everyone on his wedding day in 2011, he received minimal backlash. It felt like a new beginning, almost like he was welcoming a new age of love and affection in Bhutan. But would this fresh attitude last? The wedding between the King Jigme and Queen was the largest media event ever in Bhutan, with thousands of people cheering the king and his beautiful wife. The Dragon King had found a befitting queen. Immediately after Jigme Wangchuck became king, he set about making reforms to improve the lives of his people. He opened parliament with his intention to foster democracy and encourage every Bhutanese to get involved in improving the standard of education, security and healthcare in Bhutan. He had a big soul, but an even bigger heart, which is why he also set about giving ownerless land to the poor in Bhutan to improve their standard of living. He improved diplomatic relations by signing a new treaty of friendship with India in February 2007 and drafted a new constitution for Bhutan. His wife actively takes charge in supporting her husband's reforms in the area of medicine and in uplifting the culture of the Bhutanese people. He was creating change for good, and he couldn't be happier until he clashed with a tradition that he had to overcome as Dragon King. 5 years into their marriage, the king and his wife welcomed a son, Kasha, and 4 years later, they had another son, Anyen. It wasn't until 2023 that the royal family welcomed their first and only daughter, Surnam. Despite his beautiful family, the king had a new challenge that he needed to tackle: polygamy. In Bhutan's culture, polygamy is a very welcomed and common practice, and even the Dragon King's father, King Singye, kept to this tradition. He got married to 3 of his wife's sisters, and the new king was expected to follow in his father's footsteps and get married to 1 or 2 of his wife's sisters. He bluntly refused to keep to this custom and clearly stated that he wouldn't get married to a second or third wife. His belief in changing the custom with the changing times was surprisingly welcomed by the people, who saw him as a crusader of progressiveness and being forward-thinking. This attitude and his influence was felt all across the country. In fact, His brother Dasho, Jigme Dorji, followed in his footsteps, and after he married the queen's sister, Yatsu, he also refused many times to marry more wives. Some believe that since one sister of the queen remains unmarried, there is still a possibility of the king decided to follow tradition. But what are your thoughts on this? It seems highly unlikely, as the king has focused more on building his country and taking care of his family, rather than bothering himself with ancient customs. He was even quoted saying, "If Bhutan has been ruled by ancient customs in the past, it will now be ruled by love." It's hardly a secret why the Dragon King is known as the people's king in his home country. His character is one of medieval glory and unquestionable honour. It has been over 10 years since the king and queen got married, but the nation has only experienced growth and development ever since. The king's influence was incredible. It seems that the royal couple and their 3 children will not have any issues with the maternal customs, as the king is steadfast in his aim to rule and guide Bhutan with love. The family of 5, alongside their aides, are dedicated to showing the enormous beauty of Bhutan and have received several high-profile visitors. Even Great Britain's Prince William and his wife Kate have visited the country, as well as many other aristocratic leaders. His reforms so far have changed what the future will hold for Bhutan. It is indeed a new era of change, and the Dragon King is committed to making sure that the change remains for good, much like Shiak al-Maktoum, who recovered from leukemia. His recovery and new attitude towards life was inspirational and definitely worth checking out. So feel free to check out our past video on that. Apart from his position as king and being a symbol of religious leadership, the King of Bhutan is also a figure of hope and development for his people, with his wife serving as a partner in fostering these positive changes in Bhutan. The mystical and intriguing love story between the king and queen of Bhutan should be told for ages to come, much like the princess of Malaysia and her husband Dennis Verbas, who fought against all odds to be together, which you can check out here. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.